Harry, let's try this again. Excalibur 115. This is post Warren Fallis on Excalibur. And I like this issue and feel like I already have reviewed it because I have. And I didn't release that video because it wasn't a very good video. Ed Ginsters does the cover. Sadly, not the interiors. And we have one of the gatefold recap pages that are a stupid gimmick disguising what are actually very great recap pages. Even Squealy, the guest star, is explained in the cast of characters. I basically know exactly everything that I am going to say in this video, which is a first. But this splash page, I want to criticise. But I don't like what I want to say because it is overplayed. It is something that people say all the time now, and it has lost its meaning. But my use of it here, when I say it, I have given it great thought. And I genuinely think that it is a good comparison to make. This splash page is like AI art. It is like you got AI to do a splash page of Squealy. Look at his glider wings. The pattern doesn't match anyway. It makes no sense at all. There's parts, like at the top right, that are seemingly attached to something off panel. They're just meant to be under his arms. This alternates between a cape, wings, and a weird belt piece. 7 thumbs down. I also need to say, Squealy's appearance here is a follow-up to Generation Next 32, which is an issue I don't think I have read. It is a fill-in issue that is on its way to me in the mail right now, because Darth Knight the subscriber insisted I get it and review it because he, like a few of you but unlike me, love the circus of crime. In that issue, Squealy went on a picnic with his estranged lover, Boring Moira. And their relationship, which is currently that they are separated, is why he appears here, and it is a big part of this issue. The Squealy glider wings are consistently a problem for this artist throughout. And also tying it to something else I recently looked at. This is the artist who did Mr. Faust, Love of the Damned, Doctor Strange comics. So you have very little in the way of goodwill coming from me. We get Squealy here recapping recent events in Generation Next, especially the Operation No Tall Pants crossover. And here is the thing that I find fascinating. Excalibur did not tie into that crossover. There was no tie-in issues. It was barely mentioned. Part of the reason we are having Squealy recap it here is because if you were only reading Excalibur, you probably wouldn't know there was just a big Excellent Men crossover recently with Bastard and his Prime Centennials and Julie Lee being tortured. There was even a Squealy issue, Excellent Men Limitless 16, a Squealy solo story that ties into Operation No Tall Pants, and it has the same artist as this issue of Excalibur. Boy, do I suffer as a Squealy fan. Just realised that now. Wonder why they got the same artist to do two same writer as well. Bat Rabies, he is an underrated writer. He is among the 90s editors turned writers brigade, but he was honestly probably the best. There were sometimes scripting quirks, but I think his plots and his dialogue were about at the same level and both acceptable most of the time. And other times he was excellent, like in the 1997 Jack Staff miniseries. Or even this issue. This issue is really good, if you ask me. Over here is resurrected robot zombie cyber. He has a small but important role in this. Nice to see him in this form after I spent a week diving into his death a couple of months ago and mentioned this way they got around reviving him. Our story actually focuses on Boring Moira, of all things. Boring Moira is a long-standing supporting character in the Excellent Men books. And this is where I fucked up in my first video because I did things the wrong way around and then got distracted by the thing that makes me angry. Boring Moira is boring. That is her entire thing. She is boring. She is actually interesting very briefly in the 90s during this period, and this issue is about that. Before I explain why it and she is interesting for a short time, let's explain her. Boring Moira was introduced in Excellent Men issue 96. Christopher Clairvoyant and David Cockburn. She was a colleague of Dr. X. She came to visit in that issue. And the handy thing about this is I already have all these cutaways ready and saved from the unreleased first attempt at this. Boring Moira is a scientist based in Scotland. She is one of the leading experts in mutations and mutibiology. She was written by Christopher Clairvoyant, so she was also a gruff action star whenever the story demanded it. Or, also, she would dress like a stripper whenever the story didn't demand it. She quickly became the love interest for Squealy, unfortunately. Poor Squealy was joined at her hip for about 10 years. Boring Moira is the mother of Proton VPN, one of the most powerful evil muties around. And she is the adoptive mother of Wolf's Girl, and the latter is also an important thing for this issue. I'll say this politely this time, rather than angrily. We're not talking about it. Recent developments, retcons, and stories utterly demolished this issue and its arc for Boring Moira. It's nicer to just not get distracted and angry again. Maybe you'll get to this page and see some ads on a view screen in the background, and you will do what I did, which is try to identify them all. And you'll spend about a minute or two on this page trying to work out who some of the more nondescript ones are, and then you will feel stupid when the next page hands you the information outright. These are notable people who are suffering from, some have even died from, the Mutant-AIDS epidemic. Our plot here concerns Mutant-AIDS and Bor and Moira's search for a cure for the disease, and also a cure for herself. You see, Bor and Moira has Mutant-AIDS. She is the first, and so far only, human to contract the disease. And this is a big mystery in and of itself. She wants to know how she got it, why she got it, and if other humans are going to also get it. So let's explain Mutant-AIDS. At the end of the 1992 Excellent Men crossover, Executioner's Agenda, a designer virus was released from a canister. Sinestro was duped into breaking the seal and opening a container. He was told that it had data and samples of Cyclist's bloodline. Sinestro was tricked into releasing an airborne virus that was created by Strafe, the villain Strafe, to get revenge on the Excellent Men and kill most of the Mutie race. It was quite lethal, and some moderately recognisable characters and semi-major characters were struck with Mutant-AIDS, and more than a few died from it. Eventually, in the one-shot Excellent Men Prime, which comes straight after Age of Armageddon, not only did the existence of Mutant-AIDS become public knowledge, but it also became known that it was, or could, affect humans, when we learnt that Bor and Moira now has Mutant-AIDS. As I said, please don't mention it. For my sake and yours, don't mention it. It really does ruin every character beat in this Excalibur issue. Bor and Moira was already devoting much of her time to researching Mutant-AIDS and trying to develop a cure. But now that she is afflicted, it has become not just personal, but also there is the continued threat that another human could catch Mutant-AIDS. So the sooner that she finds a solution, the sooner they can stop and prevent any extreme public response or panics. Squealy is here because Bor and Moira has made the decision to go into isolation. She is going to quarantine herself in a lab so that she cannot spread the disease if it is contagious. And secondly, so she can commit herself solely to pursuit of a cure. She will not leave her lab. Her lab will not open. Her lab will not become unsealed unless she has succeeded and she has a cure. Or presumably she passes away. Squealy is trying to talk her out of it, but really what we have with Squealy is quality. Very good writing of Squealy. He realises that he cannot talk Bor and Moira out of it, and that she is determined, and that all he can really do is support her choice. We have romance between Wolfsgirl and Cyber, and I talked about this, and unfortunately also there's a retcon that makes all this awkward too. On the topic of awkward, this page, I think they are meant to be pacing. In panels 1, 2 and 3, I think they're meant to be pacing around. The initial feeling is that the artist has copy and pasted the background, used a stat as they're called, even though that second panel appears to be a reverse shot, showing the two characters at opposite sides. Cyber in panels 1 and 3, he looks like he could be walking. That is the only real clue. Actually, I think panels 1 and 3, yeah, they are just a complete start, same image. I like Cyber, and bringing him back this way, and the romance is sweet, so I will again ignore the retcon. Something that I cannot ignore though is the Warren Fallis self-insert character. I think there's not much worse than inserting yourself into a title and then the subsequent writers being stuck having to write a character that only exists so that you could write yourself having sex with the incredibly young Jewish girl. Warren Fallis here was introduced in issue 86. That is all you are ever hearing from me about this character. That he exists. Actually, one of the reasons, a small reason, why I love this issue is because it suggests, quite plainly, this character could, and really should, have been replaced with Squealy. Squealy as the background, as an Interpol agent, he could fill much of the same role without the chain smoking or the xenophobia or the preying on little girls shit. Plus, Squealy has actual connections to half the members of this team. He has his relationship with Bo and Moira. Steelman and the Smurf, he served with them on the Excellent Men, and they are the two members that he likely actually has a bond with. It also brings him closer to home. Put Squealy in place of Warren Fallis here, and this would be a 10 out of 10 team. We have some quick check-ins with the characters. We are neglecting this issue. Morgan, she gets a love letter from Captain Britain. With team books, I am fine with certain characters taking a back seat when they are not integral to the main story being told. Book gets 100 stars out of 10 here because we get a cameo from Emma Frosty's. They didn't have room for Smurf to make an appearance in this issue, but they managed to fit Emma Frosty's in, and that is all I could ever ask for. I'm not sure what Smurf is off doing during this, but Elliot Pride is in an abominable miniseries by Barry Amner that I caution you to never read. It is painful. Darth Knight the subscriber, I know you have a very conflicted and complicated relationship with the works of Barry Amner. This is exactly what your worst assumption is. The heart of this issue is the really nice character stuff. It comes where Bo and Moira is about to go into isolation. We get a tearful farewell with Wolf's Girl. Big fan of Wolf's Girl, me. And then we get lovely interactions where most the other characters, including guest star Squealy, say goodbye to boring Moira, and wish her luck in finding the antidote to the plague at large. It's a bit shitty that Smurf isn't here, but worse is that Morgan's hair is miscoloured here, so you think that it is Wolf's girl, and you're wondering what the fuck boring Moira is talking about to her. The end is Wolf's girl, or maybe it is Morgan. She is unable to part with her adoptive mum, and so she impulsively leaps into the lab just as the doors are sealing. And so she is now locked in. She is trapped inside the lab. She is with boring Moira, and the door cannot be opened until it is all over. And Cyber's little robot heart is broken because he is in love with Wolf's girl, and Wolf's girl has just potentially committed sacrificial suicide to be with her mum. People have never been kind to Excalibur when it morphed into an Excellent Men book like this, and people certainly have never been kind to anything after Warren Fallis. But as a single issue, I think this is... all the best strengths are on display here, except the art. This is a tight script with a clear purpose and plot, wonderful character beats. Last time I gave it 7 thumbs up, but this time I think I'll give it 7 thumbs up instead.